What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Page on Hannibal podcast number 7, live. Am I yelling? Maybe because I'm excited. I'm talking to my good friend and compadre,
Let's
Pedro.
go.
How are you doing?
What's up, man? Listen, dude. I'm good. It's a good day to be excited, man. It's hump day. It's podcast number 7, siete. Let's do this, baby.
Yeah, I think one of the studies of podcasts is the average podcast lasts like 6 or 7 episodes. So we're like almost there before we quit. But I
Hey,
don't think
we're
going to.
average. We're average. We're good.
We're right there. We're right there. And since we're live, we already have a few people already in the chat. I just want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Garden State, Hector, PPP. I recognize a few of these names. Bravo.
Bravo.
Appreciate
Yeah.
everyone that's in here already. Stable. I see another name. I think I've seen Stable that name before. Appreciate you guys for coming through. And yeah, this is going to be a very hot and spicy episode. Last week we had so much to talk about. We didn't get to really get in depth. We didn't get balls deep into this conversation, this topic. So it was like, let's move it on. Did I say ball? I just say ballsy, didn't I?
Oh yeah, you did, and we're about to, so we're good.
To the Brittney Griner situation, what's going on? How there's a big divide politically, and also what LeBron James had to say about it. And then we could transition into what LeBron had to say about Boston fans, and very hot and spicy episode. But before we want to get into that, as I always ask you, because I didn't ask you all week, what have you been listening to? What songs are you bumping in the whip, is what the kids are saying.
Yes. You know what? I actually, starting this weekend, because I had some cleaning on. We had a little birthday party to throw on Sunday, and I had to clean up some things. I started listening to the first 2 albums of Kanye, because it's been a while. So the College Dropout and Late Registration. And I forgot some of the tracks on there. They're just like, I just forgot how his first couple albums were just classic. Because I've been stuck on the Donda and some of the more recent stuff. And it was great to go back, man, and just listen to some of his early stuff when he was still refining his rap craft and how he was still like really testing the waters of hip hop and like, bringing a whole nother vibe. So it was great to listen to those albums. I listened to each of them the entirety from beginning to end, and it was good. So that's what I've listened to recently.
Yeah, I would say that is definitely one of probably my favorite. Like when he makes the jokes, or he makes a song, old Kanye. Like I enjoy. Yeah. I love Kanye from right now but old Kanye, the soul beat, the backpacker kind of feel. I think those first 3 are just like your College Dropout, late registration, graduate. Like those
graduation. Yeah,
but there's no skippable tracks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if any of these tracks like skipping there. Any of those 3 albums.
And I forgot he had Common in there, and Mos Def and Jay-Z. I think he's got Wayne in one of the songs. Like Kweli, Bernie Mac. Doing a little interludes. Like it's
wake up, Kanye.
Yeah, wake up, Mr. West. It's classic Kanye. I like the new stuff, but it's good to go back and listen to like where he started and realize, man, this guy's been on it. Like he doesn't miss a lot. You know what I mean? Like well, he some people would say he missed. He's got some albums that are like, but that his first stuff, he's so hungry, and you can tell, and it shows. And it was great to listen to those albums, man. Yeah, absolutely. So it was good to go back a little bit, and it was good, man. I enjoyed that 2 hours of listening to that. So,
and Garden State dropped in with, and I do like 808s and Heartbreak. I liked it when it first came out. I know Kanye can't sing.
Yeah.
And if he was able to sing, I think it would be like one of the best albums. Like, he can't sing, so he auto-tuned the entire thing, but it was like a breakup album, and that hit too. Like I think I could listen to every song on that one. But for me, and you're gonna be annoyed. You're gonna be very annoyed. I've been listening to all week. And I am not BSing you. I don't know how it just happened. It just happened. I've been listening to the new Drake album. Honestly, never mind. There's some tracks in there, Pedro. I know you're a hater, and you don't like Drake, and it's okay. But Sticky. I think I've played Sticky too many times.
Yeah.
But Massive and Flightbook, the emotional, oots. It just hits me. I'm driving. It's hot. You're driving down the street, seeing ladies walking around. I don't say anything.
Big booty ladies. Got to
yes.
Big booty ladies.
Liability. Like there's some tracks in there, and I tell you all, guys, right now. All right, you either single or you with your lady. You want to get in that romantic mindset. Even though she talks a lot, doesn't matter. When she comes in the car, go and date, put on the Drake. Put on Drake. It puts the ladies in the mood that you would want to get them into later. I know you may think Drake sucks, and this is probably one of his least liked albums. Like people did not like it. I think that he didn't even. I think if you would just say, "Hey, I'm going to try to do some club stuff. I'm not going to try like rap."
He probably wouldn't have got as much hate if he did that.
Yeah. But I think it just works, gets you in that mood. That, and I don't know if you're a big fan of Afro beats, that kind of genre of music.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
You put that on, the ladies like it. It gets them into that mood.
So I feel like you're just trying to get in with the ladies or your lady. So you're trying to set the mood and get your mind right in the car, and you're coming home, and I get it. No hate.
I'm a romantic, Pedro.
I see. I
love love.
I like that. I like that about you. That's good. You can be like that for the both of us.
Yeah. If someone cuts you off, you're just not as annoyed. But yeah, for some reason that's been on. I've been playing that a lot, which is interesting to say the least.
It's okay. We're still friends. It's okay. I forgive you. It's fine.
Listen, Drake is the most successful artist in the last.
He is, man. I don't hate him. I just don't listen to him a lot. But I respect his grind, and he's obviously talented. I just there's a time and place for everything. So for me, I can listen to Drake if I'm in a club, if I'm in a pool, whatever. But if I got some big booty girls around me, but at the end of the day, I can't listen to Drake, or I don't listen to Drake while I'm in my car or like working. Like I'm good.
So. You're a tough guy. It's cool.
Yeah, that's all right.
As John says, Hannibal's a lover, not a fighter. And Bobby with the Al Green. Of course, I'm not obviously.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I'm not putting Al Green up in terms of Al Green destroys Drake and that kind of. But yeah, put in the comments what you guys think or what you guys been listening to. I'm always interested in listening to new stuff, obviously, even the old stuff. I think I'm still stuck in the 90s from even the conversations we had a couple of weeks ago. That's probably where I've been listening to the most of my stuff. But yeah, let's get into the main topic at hand.
Let's do it.
So we didn't have a chance to talk about it in last episode, but the Brittney Griner thing is still going on. It's been over 130 days, probably even more than that.
Yeah.
She was in Russia, got caught with some hash oil, has been detained thus far. She has pleaded guilty to the charges. Now, it's interesting with how the Russia court system works. Just because you plead guilty, the trial doesn't end. I know we all have our criticisms about America, but at least if you in the court system of America, it's not perfect, but if you plead guilty, they move on to the phase of, okay, let's figure out the penalty. The trial is still going on. And I don't know, I don't understand how that works. But I think some Russian players had to basically vouch for her. They testified. She testified. It's a weird thing. And what the interesting thing about this situation, Pedro, and you can just jump on right in, how when you go online and anytime it's a Facebook post about it or a Twitter post or a YouTube video, a lot of people are very aggressive. Either way. But mostly aggressive about what should happen to Brittney Griner. Have you noticed that? Or what are your thoughts about that?
I'm glad you mentioned that because it's become political, and I understand why, because of when she was detained, and it was kind of delayed. We didn't find out about it for a little bit, and then you had the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, and so it's become politicized. And some people would say, they did it on purpose. Russia did it on purpose, and trying to get America to do something or not. Who knows? But at the end of the day, like a lot of things become political here, and it's like this country's so split 50-50. Like literally, it's split 50-50. So you have these people extremely passionate on either side of a topic, right? A lot of things have been happening in this country, and you hear things and it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. That side kind of makes sense. But then when it's so emotional and people are so passionate and they're not willing to listen, and everything is about emotion. And I think this is one of those things. It's like, it just, for me, it becomes almost annoying, because I think we got to do a better job of like listening to the facts and listening to one another. And, guy I used to work with say, hey, you got 2 listening devices and 1 speaking device, or 2 listening, so you got to listen a little more. I think we all need to do that. And at the end of the day, like, she's a WNBA player. She's a C-list, B-list celebrity, whatever you want to call her. And that's the reason we know about this. But these kind of things happen often, or at least, to other people. And maybe they're not WNBA, but like, it's just, it's just crazy how it becomes political. And I feel like there's this divide, like the thumbnail says, and it's just like, I don't get it. And I think she obviously has some responsibility here. And I think there's a lot of irony because of things that she said in the past about this country, and not wanting to stand for the flag. And like, that really ruffles some feathers of people in this country.
Yeah.
And, we have to do a better job of just listening and understanding somebody's opinion on things, and understand that their opinion on America and what it might stand for could be very different than yours. And there's reasonings behind that, because of maybe how their people have been treated in this country, what they've gone through in this country. But I think it's ironic, and that's the word I would use for her, because now it's like she wants to come back. And I know right now that's all she wants. I can only imagine. She's like, I just want it to go back to where it was. I don't care. I love America. She wasn't saying that 2 years ago. And it's like, yeah, it's just kind of ironic. But obviously she made a mistake. She has to, pay the piper. But I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just sad that everything becomes political. And there's just such a divide. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens,
Yeah, we have some few really interesting comments from the chat. John with John, Russian court is like being down by 20 against Belichick. He wants to score another 20 on you. Garden State people's opinions on it became super polarizing.
Yeah,
that's really good comment. Hector, honestly, I blame this on her agent. Her agent should have been familiar with the laws in Russia and should have had been educated her about it.
Like let's talk about that real quick. And I want to get your opinion on this, Hannibal. I feel like we talk about sports in this channel. We love athletes. We love hip hop, music, celebrities. Like it's culture, right? We like the culture. We like all that. But at the end of the day, like these people we're talking about have money. They have handlers or agents or groupies or people that yes men around them, and they have 8, lawyers. She should have known better. She should have known better as far as not to have something that's illegal in another country, especially Russia. You got to understand where you're going, what you're traveling.
Don't take drugs. Don't use drugs. Don't take drugs. And at least in the continent of Asia. Don't bother.
You should know better. You should know better, right?
Amsterdam is in Holland, and there's all. But in that entire area, China, no drugs. My opinion, I think she forgot. I think it could be that, or she got away with it. I think is one way. It's possible she forgot, because if she's a weed head, and you're not a weed head, but we forget stuff all the time. Like, yo, did I put that? Oh, God damn, I put in that damn, this part of the damn luggage, which is still not a good excuse.
So honest mistake, right? You're saying
could be a mistake. Yeah, I would
oversight.
say so.
Yeah.
Or just, and the thing is that Brittany has some legal issues back home of either, I think it was domestic violence charges. Yeah. So, there's when people kind of get in trouble often, a lot of it is really impulsive, and they do what they want to do or what they feel like doing at the time, and they get away with it. I doubt this is the first time she probably done that. It just got caught, and now, I'm sure she's reevaluating everything, because the thing about America, you can criticize it, and of course, everything could be criticized. You forget how easy or how different things are when you leave this country.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people don't understand that. They don't travel. They don't research. They don't understand that the other prison systems in other countries, especially third world countries, it's like a human rights violation. Yeah. How in certain countries they'll put probably 50 people in one little, we call it a cell. Yeah. Everyone rubbed up against each other. Like you just don't, we're a point where the police don't run the jail. The prisoners run the jail. They're just on the outside. There's so many issues outside of this country that, of course, deserves some criticisms. Obviously, there's issues, but I know that Brittany is like, damn, things ain't that bad back home. It ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Let me just see what there more comments in here. Yeah, just like Hector, the real question: how many times has she done this before she got caught? And that's usually hit. That's even when when a person got caught cheating. They'll say, that's my first time. I'm sorry, baby.
It's not.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Well, and like you said, if let's say she's caught here, athletes with something like that, athletes can get in trouble if it's severe. But if you're an athlete or a celebrity, you get caught with a little weed, you get pulled over with something, it's forgivable. You catch the right airport person or cop, they're like, it's cool, Brittany. You good. Just, go home. Right. In other parts of the world, nah, you American? Oh, we gonna make a point with you. We're gonna prove a point with you. We're gonna use you to prove a point. We're gonna hold you here because we don't like you, and that's just how it is. America does that too. Think about back in 2001 to 2000, let's say 7 or 8. If you were Muslim in this country, forget about it. You were getting pulled over. You were getting checked. You were, there were reasons for that, right? So like, we have to understand, like, when you're traveling, you got to move like what's going on and where am I going? What do I have? What are the rules there? Like, and I guess you're probably right, man. She probably just slipped up, and she slipped up before, and it was forgiven. And we all make mistakes. We're human beings, and I think she definitely regrets it for sure.
Yeah, like bad timing. And we can just dive more into the political point. I think EB had a really good comment. This whole story has been sensationalized by the left because she's a person of color, also in the LGBTQ community, which is one of the left's main talking points of divisiveness. And you can look at both sides. I think the right is saying, hey, listen, Brittney Griner has been critical of the country. She doesn't want to stand up for the flag. And if you're super patriotic and super nationalistic, you're like, well, let her rot in prison. Then the left is like, well, she's being targeted because she's a part of, this group. Obviously, she's intersexual, like she's, gay. Also, she's a black person.
And they don't approve of that in Russia.
And they don't approve that in Russia. Yeah. But it's also, Russia pays the professional women's sports higher than American, I think. Oh no, they do. And I'm sure they take care of them. I mean, that's why they travel. That's why, because the WNBA doesn't make a lot of money. WNBA is not profitable. The WNBA is, for better or lack of a term, a charity project of the NBA. NBA finances them. They have not made a profit. I can't tell you the 5 teams. You probably a little bit more.
WNBA, I could maybe name 5, but yeah, it's not profitable in America because people don't watch, and there's no TV contracts. Over in other parts of the country, they pay because people watch.
People like it.
A sporting event, and they like it. So
yeah. And Bill Burr had a really good bit. I think it's on YouTube. Was saying, if the feminists watching, because if the women are not watching, the feminists not watching. But blame it is like, he was like, it's your fault that feminists, it's your fault that WNBA is not fought properly.
There's not demand for it. There's no demand for it.
Yeah, it's like, you watch it, And Brittney Griner, I think we all knew her. Like, she was one of the famous basketball players outside of that, because she was like, she could dunk. Yeah. And I don't know, is she like the best WNBA player?
No, she's definitely not the best. She went to college at Baylor. She was really good. I think they won a national championship. She was dunking in college a couple times, and she got to WNBA. She's good, but she's not. I would say she's out of the top 10 even. So she's not. Yeah, she's good, but she's not one of the top 10 players or anything like that.
Because from top of my head, I know Skylar Taylor-Diggins.
Of course you do.
Yes. She's very talented. Pedro, very talented. Lots of talent there. Obviously Candace Parker, like she's one of the her and Diana Taurasi, they're the goats, man. Sue Bird, and she's about to retire. So I know a few. I remember when the WNBA first came out, when they had Rebecca Lobo, Lisa Leslie, and it looked like it was actually going to do something, because a lot of those players actually won the gold like right before it or during it. So it was like a lot of pub, but it just for some reason just didn't carry on. But back to the political point, I think there's a little bit of both here. Okay. Russia did not target this person and say, let's plant some hash oil.
Right.
But what I think Russia did was saw someone slipping and said, "Oh, we got one. We got an American that's of note. We're in a war. We're trying to take over Ukraine, and yeah, we're gonna milk this for all it's worth." And I know there's some talk about exchanging prisoners and all that stuff. I did not dive that deep into it.
Well, some prisoners. There was somebody that was exchanged around the same time Brittany was detained. Has been detained, but it wasn't Brittany. So there was some thing about that. And it's like, well, why not Brittany? Well, there's other people, right, involved here. I read that today. I was looking up in a little bit. And it's definitely, it was an opportunity. Russia took an opportunity. And that's how I agree with what you're saying with that.
Yeah, like it could be a little bit of both. I don't think they went after her because, well, she's a black gay person. No, she got caught.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're going to push this. They're not there. I mean, we in the U.S. are basically in another Cold War where the sanctions are going left and right, even though they're not working. And yeah, they're going to milk this for all that it's worth. I just saw, and we kind of missed this while we were throwing out, famous professional women players.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
I would disagree.
100 points. Paige.
I would Cheryl Miller's not the GOAT in the in women's. I think she's OG. Donna Taurasi, like somebody just said, is considered the black mama. Donna Taurasi is the GOAT of the WNBA, followed by, I would say, maybe Candace Parker, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops. There's a few people I would name before Miller. Absolutely. Yeah. But that's just, I know a little bit about WNBA. My stepdaughter was a fanatical basketball player. She's amazing. She'll go D1 next year.
Get out of here.
She's a beast.
Nice, bro.
Shout out to Michaela Moore. She's fantastic.
Nice.
So I know a little bit about. I watch women's basketball. I actually enjoy watching it because the way they play is a lot more team oriented, and it's fun to watch. Actually, the fundamentals. Like I actually enjoy it. But those are my top 3 or 4. But Cheryl Miller, she's there. She's not the GOAT though.
Okay.
Respectfully disagree.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I think it's a little bit of that where, yes, both sides are fighting this, and as much as and again, let's think about it. Okay, you say Brittney Griner was very critical of the USA, and she's doing this. They say, well, let her rot. And the thing is, if she wasn't famous, we wouldn't be talking about it. There have been people in there being locked up. There's a really good show called Locked Up Abroad. I don't know if it's out. I forgot what channel, where people talk about their stories about being locked up abroad, and they're not good. Being in America does nothing. Mm-hmm. Maybe actually gives you more of a problem because they're like, well, we're going to keep you here. You don't know the language. You could be taken advantage of. You have no idea. So it's definitely something that, I think, she's a pawn now. And I know a lot of people are very critical of Biden. Why he's not doing enough? What can he do?
I want to ask you a hot take, because
sure.
I've been thinking about this, right? So Donald Trump got A$AP Rocky, Lil Wayne, he got other people kind of out or whatever. Do you think if Donald Trump was president, and I am not a Donald Trump fan, let me just say that right now. I'm not a Joe Biden fan either, though. They're both trash, in my opinion. Anyways.
Yeah.
Do you think if Donald Trump was president, Brittney Griner would have been out by now?
Probably.
Me too. I agree. It's hard to say.
That's the first thing I was like, he probably
I think he would have got her out.
I think he would have got her out. He had a better relationship with Putin.
A
lot of this, and again, we're not gonna go too political in here. But a lot of this war and fighting and weird stuff wasn't happening. We were just mad because he was tweeting. He had bad tweets. His tweets is bad. His tweets is ridiculous. But this fighting and weird stuff didn't happen until Biden. I don't watch Biden talk anymore. It actually makes me uncomfortable. I feel bad for him.
I don't either. Yeah. Today, we had other issues though. When Trump was, we had other issues that were different. But you're right about that.
Yeah, so it's difficult, but right now, I mean, Biden said a few things. He's a killer, blah blah blah. So there's a lot of rhetoric, and I think there's nothing Biden can do right now. There's a war happening. There's sanctions happening. So now they're going to use Brittany as a bargaining chip. They're going to say, okay, well, if you want her back, you're going to have to give us A, B, and C. Because I think they're going to give her. I think it looks like the sentencing is around 10 years. They're going to probably hit with 10 years. to get USA.
Do you know in Russia if it's 10 years, or like is it in America you do 10, you serve 3 or something? Do you know how it is? I don't know.
Russia probably keep you there for I don't know if they do good time. I don't know. I mean, if someone in the comments have some more knowledge about the Russia criminal justice system, probably not. Apparently they have a very high conviction rate to a point where no one ever gets like acquitted. So that's why a lot of people are saying it was actually a good idea for her to plead guilty and then kind of beg to kind of say, hey, I'm sorry.
She wants to get mercy a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Because I felt like a lot of the some and looks like on the left were kind of making it seem like it was planted and it wasn't real. And I was like, we'll never know.
We'll never know. I mean, I think she would, if somebody plants something on me, I'm not going to admit to that. I'm going down. I'm gonna be like, I don't have anything. I didn't have anything.
Right.
I would make it that, but obviously she knew she messed up and she wants to get back home. And the irony's wild to me because, I don't necessarily, if somebody feels a certain way about like a country or they have different political beliefs, hey, do you think how you want to feel? I am not in your mind. I haven't lived your experience, so like have an opinion. That's what's great about this country, Hannibal. In my opinion, the best thing about living here is that we can have a podcast, voice our opinions. And for the most part, we could speak freely, right? Like we can say what we want. We can have opinions. We can go out and work, come home to our families. There's a lot of freedom in that. But then I do also understand for a lot of people, freedom is weighted differently, right? Based on their family history, based on how they live every day, how they're treated. So like, I respect her and what she said maybe, a couple years ago. And like, that's her belief. That's her thought. For whatever reason, I'm not going to, we got to stop taking that from people. Like, oh no, you should just do this. And this is the best country ever. And you should just, no, people can have opinions. That's what soldiers go to fight for. We fight for our freedoms, our liberties, our freedom of speech. We should all have that. Right. So I would never take that from her, but it's ironic now that she wants to come back home to the places she said she, wouldn't stand for the anthem. I think that's where the political right look at her like, no, you could rot over there because you didn't want to be here anyway. You talk crap on the flag. So it's just weird, like mix. And that's where it becomes political because she had opinions about, standing for the flag, kneeling, whatnot. But at the end of the day, like we should have opinions. We should be able to voice our opinions in this country. I think that's what makes this country great. And I think now it's kind of like she put herself in a bad spot. She made a mistake. And I hope she comes back. I don't want her to be over there for 10 years. I think that's excessive for what the crime is, but it's Russia and their laws are different. So what do you do,
Yeah, it's a learning lesson for many people to, hey, listen, when you're traveling, make sure you know all of the laws that's going on in the place that you're going to go because you're a guest there and you got to make sure you're up on your P's and Q's. Like, I know what the situation that happened with North Korea when I forgot the young man's name. Lost it just now, where he was accused of stealing a poster. And they did something to him when he came back. It was basically in comatose condition. He died.
He was an American in North Korea?
He was American in North Korea, which I don't know why would you, you're not Dennis Rodman. If you're not Dennis Rodman, you're not going to North Korea.
Listen, you'd have to give me a lot of bags to go to North Korea. Like, no way.
So he got caught stealing a poster. He even he begged, he played guilty and all that type of thing. And they might have tortured him to a point when he came back. He was a normal, regular, healthy person when he got there. Came back comatose, died a few years later. I think Trump was able to get him out. I think it was actually around that time. I forgot his name. You don't want to put yourself in that position. But you know what? Let's actually bring in LeBron. LeBron had a few words to say about it.
Yeah,
and then we're actually going to put his response after he said that response, if that makes any sense. So let me put that in right quick so we hear what he had to say. Now, you're not going to see his face. We got to make sure the copyright is legit so we don't get, dinged or anything. So let's put in what he had to say. It's about 1 minute and 18 minutes about what he talked about Brittany.
A woman named Brittney Griner, who's an amazing basketball player, amazing person. She was in Russia playing. The war broke out. On her way back, flying home, they said she had some amount of hash, which was illegal in Russia. And she is in Russia. We don't really know where. She's been there
over 100. It had got to be over 110
30
days.
Or something like that. It's pretty fucked up what's going on.
The WNBA season has started, and she still
has not come back.
She still hasn't come back.
She's a superstar. I mean, we're talking about this is the top of the top. This is LeBron of the WNBA.
You being you, LeBron James, have you thought of like if it was you travel to Europe, you do these things, like, have you put yourself there in terms of like, man, what she must be going through, or what that experience must be like?
I was trying to imagine it, and it's hard for me to even put myself into what she's going through. Like, she's such a great human being, a great person. Obviously, I've been in her presence a few times, and, you know, you always feel like, you know, if you're from a certain place, you always feel like they got your back. And in a sense, like, now, how can she feel like America has her back? Like, I would be feeling like, do I even want to go back to America if I've been gone over 130 days and I feel like it's been zero effort.
Okay. So before we put his response, what are your thoughts about just that statement that he put out there? Like, what think?
I think when you're talking freely in the context of friends or whatever, you know, I understand what he's saying, but I don't think he articulated it the way he wanted to in his brain.
Yeah.
Because clearly she wants to come back, and anybody would want to come back from Russia, a Russian jail. Yeah. The comforts of being a millionaire in the United States, being a professional athlete, you want to come back. You're not going to be like, oh, I don't feel like they're doing enough. I'm cool. I'm gonna stay over here. Nah, come on, LeBron, you'd want to come back. So I think he just kind of misspoke a little bit. I get where he was going. I think we've all been guilty of that on some level, but because it's LeBron James, it's like, you know, he's got to watch his P's and Q's. But I think it's I think he like apologize or something, or he retracted.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually post it right now. His tweet that he after that came out, and I'm gonna reserve my final judgment on LeBron at the end of the next story.
Okay.
But at least for this situation, I think let's go straight to his tweet. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, right here. Yeah. So the shop is a show that he has. It's kind of like that round table deal. He puts in, my comments on the shop regarding Brittney Griner wasn't knocking our beautiful country. I was simply saying how she's probably feeling emotionally, along with so many other emotions, thoughts, etc. Inside the cage she's been in for over 100 days. Long story short, hashtag bring her home, hashtag free BG.
Yeah.
So he had to kind of clean it up there.
Yeah.
But
I think he was thinking like and he's trying to be in her mind like this sucks, like, you know, they're not doing enough. Like, I get it, but like, you know, it's almost like with these celebrities and professional ball players, like they get coddled. You know, when you make it to the WNBA and the NBA, we have to understand these athletes have been the best at what they've been doing since they're probably 6, 7, 8 years old, then middle school, then high school. They always get what they want. So it's like they expect when something bad happens to people either to forget, or immediately rectify the situation. And when you're in another country that's in the middle of a war, that's not going to happen. So I think he's trying to get inside her brain what she might be thinking, but I think he said it. I think he misspoke a little bit. It's my opinion. But
Pedro, you should be his like representative, his PR, because that's very good spin.
Sign me up.
Right, get somebody. That's a good spin. Actually, I didn't think about it that way, but it's a really good comment by Hector. To be honest, though, I feel athletes shouldn't mix politics with their careers. The only change you can do is help your communities. At least, and that's what LeBron does. It's a few criticisms I have about LeBron. One that I would say is he's a genius on the basketball court. His IQ of basketball is next level. His body, his physicality, the fact that he takes care of his body to be this effective this many years is outwardly. Like, this doesn't him and Brady is doing things that most mortal men can't do.
It's one of one. I mean,
forget about that. Yeah, you forget about that. And he spends $1 million a year on his body. Like, so there's certain things, and also his business acumen, at least the ability to link up with Maverick Carter, like these friends that he figured that he had, or like business geniuses. He may not.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
But he hooked himself up to get really smart people to do and run a lot of his businesses. So there's a few things he got down. But again, I will go with my main criticism of him after the next story. But but yeah, I think he does great things for the community as well. He got the school, so he does that. just when he talks about other things. That's my main.
And then, I think if anything, that's like the only thing we can hold against him, if you think about it, right? Because he does a lot of positive, but at the end of the day,
he wouldn't go to jail. You know why? He don't get caught doing any crime. There's no crime. No. LeBron doesn't commit crime. So this idea of, I think Brittney Griner's coach was like, well, if it was LeBron, he would have gotten out. They're like, wait, what? LeBron wouldn't be getting caught with drugs on him. No, because LeBron don't go to jail. He doesn't commit crime. So he hasn't been convicted of domestic violence. So slow down here, trying to compare the two. They're not even. Then also LeBron's black. So if we're going with the race angle, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
First of all, they'll hold the crap out. If LeBron had drugs on him, you think they'll let him out?
In Russia, no. In America, I think it would just depend on who arrested him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it depends on, you got to understand when you're a billionaire, you could do a lot. Like he's, so I think it just depends on the situation. I think people with means can get away with things. That's just the way this country is, and that's fine. That's the way a lot of countries are. If you got money, you can get out of anything for the most part, right? But he's she technically she did something illegal, so it's hard to feel sorry for her, but at the same time, she made a mistake. Do I think she served enough time and got? Yeah, I do. But in Russia, hash or weed or whatever is looked upon differently than it is here. So it's tough, man. I think she made a mistake. I think she's been over there long enough. She should come home. That's my opinion. But I'll be curious to see what happens. So.
Yeah, at first, I think when it first came out, I was like, well, you're on your own. You kind of effed up there. But as the story progresses, you see her more often. I do feel sad for her. She's another human being.
Yeah.
That type of drug that she's being caught is something that we're still fighting. I mean, we're finally kind of getting over the hill of trying to make it legalized here. But here, exactly the key word of being here in the U.S. compared to being overseas, and you got to respect those laws, and just bad timing. Bad timing.
It's bad. It's definitely bad timing.
But I guess we kind of, and that's the beautiful thing about this podcast. We're going to be in nuance. We're going to, the hard positions a lot, and I think that really works on YouTube, and especially media having really strong, aggressive, hard right or hard left nonsense, and it does well. It gets the clicks and views, but that's not how. I don't think that's not how you think. That's not how I think. I think many people in chat don't. We have some hey, you're in trouble. You gotta stay there. But also at the same time, we know that there's some political nonsense going on where she's going to be used as a pawn, and don't. But also at the end of the day, don't get yourself caught in that position. Whether you're progressive or you're conservative, don't go overseas and commit any. When you're there, you're a guest. Be as clean as possible. Unless you were at a spot, you in Holland. Go
no, you know what, man? Hannibal, you just said it perfectly, man. It's like if I'm chilling in my house, I can put my feet up, I can eat my chips and put them on the ground if I want them in my home. I can do what I want. I know what rules I can break. I know what my wife wants me to do, what my husband doesn't want me to do, what my employer is good with. I could do what I want, right? It's great about living here. But if I go to Hannibal's house, I've never been there before. Maybe his place is different. I ain't putting my feet up on the couch. I ain't eating chips and throwing them on the ground. There's a level of respect. Regardless of what you think about other countries, you got to respect the rules that are there. And I would expect somebody coming to our country to do the same, right? Because that's just how it works. And if you want to move like a respectable human being and keep your freedom, that's where she slipped, So
you got to keep it as a business trip, and
got to keep it as a business trip,
especially over there. But I think it's a learning lesson. Especially every time I watch a Locked Up Abroad, I'm like, yo, if I'm going to Bali, don't get caught with any drugs. You're going to stay there forever. You're not coming back out. It's just certain things like that. So, but we're going to transition, still talk about LeBron. So a couple of days ago, again, I don't know if it's the same show.
I don't know. I think it was it was on The Shot, but I don't know if it was the same show.
But he's, LeBron talking candidly about playing in Boston. And he has some thoughts about what he thinks about Boston fans or Boston in general. I think Boston fans. Yeah. And LeBron has spanked Boston for many, many years when he was. I mean, I still remember that 45-point game he put up
versus KG and then Paul Pierce and those guys. Yeah, man.
They couldn't stop him.
I think he scored every point or most of the points in the fourth quarter, and then most of them in the over. He scored like 24 in a row or something. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing.
It's one of those games you kind of remember. It's kind of, like even like the Steph game, the 41 point he dropped but that game was, I guess that kind of cemented like, oh, this guy is like legit. Like we thought he was good. It was like, oh, he can be one of the greatest.
He's that guy. Yeah, he was still young with the Cavaliers. He was before he went to Miami. So
yeah, exactly. Like you finally really started like, okay, this is the guy. So LeBron, Boston fans probably don't like him all that much for many, many years. So I'm gonna put another clip of what he had to say about. This is a much shorter one. What he said about Boston fans.
I mean, Boston.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Boston?
Because they racist as fuck. That's why. Nasty. They will say anything, and it's fine. I mean, fuck, it's my life. I mean, I've been dealing with it my whole life. I don't mind it. Like, I hear it. Like, if I hear somebody like close by, I check them real quick. I move on to the game, whatever the fuck. They're gonna say whatever the fuck they want to say. They might throw something on you. I mean, I got a beer thrown on me leaving the game. Like.
All right, so that was pretty quick, and that's legit. He's not lying. He did get a beer poured on him when he was going into the tunnel, and just like a bunch of liquid fell on him. So, what are your thoughts now? Again, before we're gonna talk about race right now, guys.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I got some thoughts.
Now we are pro race. No, we love. Listen,
what does that mean? Hold on, pro race. What? Pro race?
We love all colors. I love white women. Pedro.
I love white women.
We all love white women
and Asian women and Hispanic women.
I've been with now bragging as you.
Listen. This is gonna sound corny as whatever. I don't just like. Listen, man. I rock with anybody as long as you good people. Like I could care less. I do realize there is racism in this country.
Yes,
it's all around us. It happens. I think we use the race card too easy. We're too quick to use it. So one thing I don't like, people just use it too much, but we have to realize there is issues, and nobody can debate that. And if you debate that, I can't rock with you. If you think that, you're blind, if you think there's not, and I've seen it firsthand. So those people can kick rocks, but I generally think most people are good people. And I base people based on their character and how they treat me. And, but as far as LeBron, I'll start with saying this. Boston is known in the sports world for being kind of like that. Now, I'm not a professional athlete. I've never stepped foot in Boston, so I can't speak from it personally. But multiple sports figures for multiple different teams in different sports, whether it's hockey, baseball, basketball, they've said that about that city. So who knows, right? The same way they say, like, Oakland Raiders fans are a certain way, Philadelphia Phillies fans, the Eagles fans, the San Francisco Giants, the Dodgers. Everybody kind of has their, like, that fan's this kind of way. Boston's known in the sports world for being kind of racist. It is what it is, right? That's just, they got to take that because there's got to be some truth to it. There can't be that many people that think that, and But when LeBron's talking about like beer being poured on him, cry LeBron. I do not feel. You got to understand what is awesome about sports is you want a fanatical fan base, right? You want that. I got no problem with a dude pouring a little bit of beer on me if I'm making $50 million a year. I could care less, bro. I'm good. Give me the hate. That means I'm doing something good, right?
Right.
Now, is it rude? Yes. Is that racist? Absolutely not. If somebody calls me out of my name, if I'm a black man, as long as he ain't using the N-word, could care less. Don't care. You call my mama something. Hey, your mama's fat. Your mama's this. Don't care. That's a fan. Like, we got to stop being super sensitive to that kind of stuff.
Right.
But like, yeah, if the N-word's being thrown around or like they're saying like really, really crazy things, yeah, that's not cool. Like, that's not, you're not going to get that in St. Louis for the most part, right? You go to a Cardinals-Cubs game. I've been to a few. I'm not really seeing that there, right?
Right.
But in Boston, that's kind of seems to be like that's the measuring stick, like for what those fans do sometimes. But at the end of the day, like a little bit of beer or like calling your mom or something, like get out of here with that. That who cares, right? But clearly, some of these sports figures have heard fans say certain things that they consider crossing the line, and there's no room for that. I think there's something if I'm being heckled. That's one thing. Now, if you're calling me like something that's super derogatory, yeah, those fans should not be allowed in the stadium. Point blank period. Yeah. Point blank period. They should not be allowed. Sometimes we see stories where those fans are kicked out. They can't go back. That's the right thing to do. But if it's a fan just saying, LeBron, you're a bum. Your mom sucks. I slept with her last night. Oh my God, your wife is ugly. Like, you got to deal with that, bro. Like, that's, right. So for me, I think Boston definitely has they're known for that. Like, even the Patriots fans, I've heard football players say things, baseball players, with the Red Sox, but at the end of the day, I don't know, there's passion and then there's straight racism. And I think those are two different things. And I'm not a professional athlete, never even been to Boston, but there's got to be some truth behind it. But, I don't know, man, it's tough. I mean, I've seen clips of Westbrook arguing with fans on the sidelines. And I feel like sometimes some of these athletes get a little too sensitive and they feel like, oh, well, he's doing that because I look this way, and that might not be the truth. So it's tough. Sometimes fans are just fans and they don't like you and they're heckling you because you're that guy. You're good. You're Russell Westbrook. You're LeBron James. Yeah. You're whoever. And I think it's hard to know where the truth is with that. But, if anybody's going to a game and they're throwing around racial slurs, yeah, that dude, they got to go. And you would hope security or something would step in and do something, but it's tough to know what the reality is.
No, but that's worse.
That's worse.
No, it's not.
You can say that. I won't. You can say
I don't want to go to a tangent. Nickelback is a decent band. They have some good songs. I don't understand the hate with Nickelback. They have good songs. I don't understand the
Nickelback is trash.
No, they're not. Listen, we'll talk about this another time.
We'll talk about it.
Look at this photograph. Anyway, so what I think about the situation. Now that there's a few comments and there, few people have talked about it. Hector talking about Torrey Hunter, and there's other players talked about certain kinds of behavior that's happening in Boston. And I do believe that, especially LeBron is super sensitive.
He is
super sensitive guy, and he's a leader of the NBA. And I feel look, from Kevin Durant, burner accounts, and Kyrie, and then Ben afraid to put on basketball shorts and go out and play a game. It's just so much sensitivity. While the foreign players like Luka and the Greek Freak are just we've been through some stuff.
Great point.
We've been the MVP of the NBA. He's been through some stuff where he came from, to the point where you suck. You're like, I go to jail for just respecting the leader of this place. I'll go to jail. We don't forget how easy we have it. But I think this is what I think is happening. Is there probably some super aggressive Boston fans? Yeah, definitely. Some really aggressive sports fans, because Boston doesn't have anything but sports. It's cold. I think the bar's closed too early.
Hannibal with the zinger.
All they have is their sports teams. They got their Patriots, they got the Red Sox, and they got the Celtics and Bruins. And they really, really care because there's nothing else. It's too cold. That's why, there's not a lot of fanatical fans in Tampa, because you can go to the beach.
Yeah.
You want to care about the Miami Heat, but go to South Beach and enjoy that.
And Boston's like the armpit. It's like the other armpit of New York compared to Jersey. It's it's Boston.
Or even I go with New York with the Yankees fans. Some Yankees fans are super. So it's they won 25,000 championships. Why is, and since they didn't win in last 10 years, they'll be on, I'll drive them here and talk radio. I'm worried about this season. They're dominating this season. I don't even know about baseball. I'm they're beating everyone's ass, and you're still that level of fanaticism could get to a point where they'll say anything to you to get under your skin.
Yeah.
And they'll be a little reckless, I think. And I think the problem is with a player, especially if you're a black player, you are in this fishbowl called a court. You're playing the game. And when someone doesn't look like you, saying some crazy stuff like calling you a boy, you're gonna take it weird. You're gonna take it a different way.
Yeah.
Instead of a black guy calling another black person a boy, I don't like either one of those. Those are my trigger. That's my trigger. Don't call me a boy.
Yeah.
But when another person doesn't look like you say that, they might not be racist. They're just trying to get into your skin. You take it as they're being a racist. So I think that's the problem. I think that's where the issue is. I think, is it possible there's racism? Sure, but I think it's Boston fans being brutal. Don't bring your family to the game, and I think that's what Russell Westbrook needs to understand. Draymond needs to understand. And the idea is like, well, that's not fair. It's free country. I pay the tickets. They need to come. I would not put my family in an environment where drunk, fanatical, douchebag fans could scream at my kids and scream at my wife. That's not a safe thing. Or either get a bunch of goons surrounding those seats, or have them in the box.
Well, especially the NBA. You can get seats. You're right next to the bench. You're literally feet away from the players, like feet. It's not baseball where they're, or
super
hockey.
Close.
Like
Super
NBA
close.
is the closest you can get. If you got money, you can be as close as you want.
The ball, you could get the ball. You could bounce. The ball may come up to you. The play may fly. Try to get a loose ball, land in your lap. Like that's why the tickets are so expensive. Pull My Game had a really good Philly fans. You know why? It's terrible to live there. It's they have.
Philly,
Philly's terrible. Yeah, they're terrible.
I think they're probably known. I think they're number one for being like literally their mascot with the Phillies is a fanatic. Like they are fanatical. The Eagles, the Flyers? I mean, the Penguin. Like Philly's crazy.
Yeah. So I think that's where LeBron seems to be a little sensitive to that fact. I think it's just they're super, super aggressive, and I think I saw a few videos of, and some Boston. And if you're a Boston fan, you put in the comments about, tell me what you guys think about what LeBron said. I think a lot of people say, well, if I'm from Boston, like, well, we got black players on our team, and we don't, we're not racist because of that. Like that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I explain why. Just because you're cheering for your guy, but if you're still throwing out crazy derogatory racist terms, that doesn't negate anything. Well, I like Jason Tatum. Like that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like
I got black friends.
Exactly. It's no. Yeah, you want your team to win championships, so you can go out and get drunk and flip a car over, whatever the hell people do now when they win championships. But I want to go back to actually, it's a good comment. Actually, Bobby said it will desensitize your kids and will bring them on to early racism builds character.
It depends, I guess. Yeah,
it depends, and it's not a very controlled environment. So, like, if I'm playing, I'm not there to at least be there in case something doesn't go wrong beyond just talking. And I feel like sometimes you remember like really crazy stuff when you're young, and you have to have someone there to put the context around, like, this person is saying this, but it doesn't change who you are, who is a part. You know what I mean? Like, it could be really. I think it's too many unknown variables that I would not be comfortable putting my family in. Like,
do you think that like Philly fans, Boston fans, Oakland Raider fans, do you think they know that the 10, 20 years ago that prior generation acted a certain way? So do you feel like they're doing it to keep up with appearances? Like they understand, oh, I'm in Boston, I'm going to a game, I got to act a certain way. Do you think that there's an element of that a little bit?
It's a culture. There's a culture of very aggressive, emotional, and fanaticism is kind of related to religion. Like the most religious person, the fanatical person, where they can do some crazy stuff to do damage. I mean, I forgot the story. I forgot it was baseball fans. I think it was actually near Oakland. They beat this because I think it's a visiting fan going to check out his team. Beat the guy to a coma and brain damage over a fight. And we've seen a couple of clips of people fighting, and we see the crime rate and people getting more unhinged and ready to fight over anything. So you see people fighting. That's why another thing too, like, should you go and put on your jersey to go to a visiting arena with a very fanatical fan base?
Well, I was born in Chicago. I'm a Cubs fan, right? I live in St. Louis. Majority of my life, I've been in St. Louis. St. Louis and the Cubs have a rivalry, but it's kind of a friendly one. But it's a rivalry. It's not quite Boston, New York, but it's definitely, you go to a St. Louis game, the Cubs travel well. I could wear my Ryan Sandberg jersey proud, never have no smoke, no problems. But St. Louis fans are they're known for being like knowledgeable. They cheer and clap for everything. A guy strikes out, it's like, oh, good try. Like They're very passionate fans, very loyal, but very kind. Maybe it's a Midwest thing. I don't know. But like, I could wear my Cubs jersey and be sitting front row. Maybe somebody says something like, the Cubs suck. But like, it's never anything beyond that. If anything, they'll say that and then buy me a beer the next inning. So it's a very friendly rivalry. So I've never experienced or felt scared to like wear my hometown jersey to some, a home ballpark. But, if I'm from Boston, I go to New York, there's an opportunity there. Like you feel like something could happen if you run across the wrong person. But in St. Louis,
go down.
I don't feel it. Yeah, in St. Louis, I don't feel it.
Yankees fan going. Yeah, I think if you're a Yankees fan, you're going to you're going to see the Red Sox in Boston. Prepare for some stuff. Possibly. Especially if some group of fans are too drunk and then egging you on and egging you. So it's like certain situations you don't want to put yourself into.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a culture. It's a culture. Your father was a maniac for the team. You're a maniac for a team because there's a connection to your family, connection to your friends. You're tailgating. You're drinking. You're loving when they win. You're crying when they lose. You don't got anything else going on. Especially the Northeast. It's freezing. It's cold. This is all we got. New York, a little bit more. You got a little bit more things going on. But I feel like Yankees fans or Mets fans or sometimes Jets fans. But I feel like Buffalo fans seem to be the nicest. Like even the Buffalo's Mafia up there.
Buffalo Mafia, they tailgate better than anybody. Like they're crazy up Buffalo.
I'm wondering in terms of aggressiveness. Like I wonder if they kind of fall in the same thing. I don't think so. And it's freaking freezing up there. They get like 40 inches of snow a day probably over there. But I don't hear that much of like aggressive, angry fanaticism.
Yeah, good point. I think it could be a little bit of that mob mentality of like, all right, I gotta keep up with my boys. We go into the game. I got to do this. I got to drink my beers. I got to, and then you mix alcohol in with that.
I used to play in high school.
Yeah, I played in high school, man. I could strike that guy out, man. I could strike him out. Nah, you can't strike him out. Get out of here with that. Like, yeah, man, I broke my, I tore my ACL. I should be in the league.
Yeah,
nah, bro, you ain't going to the league.
Yeah, I think baseball is like the one sport I think everyone thinks they can do. Like
baseball's the hardest
basketball,
sport.
You got to be, pretty tall.
Baseball's the hardest. Hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do.
I feel like that's the sport where when I hear people call on sports radio, because I pop on listen a little bit and I may turn to music. They'll try to break down the baseball game as if they could coach or they can play, and like
it's hilarious, isn't it funny? Don't you just laugh at that?
Some football calls too. They'll be like, they should have ran this play. Like, yeah, because you coach Pop Warner, you can coach a professional NFL game. Oh, great, bro. Yeah. It's a little bit of that. I think it's ego, a lot of ego, and a culture of just really heavy fanaticism. So I think that's probably it. I know we got a few Jets. Yeah, Jets. Hopefully do something.
When was the last time the Jets? So what? The Jets were good. They went to back-to-back AFC championships with Rex Ryan.
Mark Sanchez.
The Jets they're trash. They're really bad.
Well, they got the quarterback now is known for being a MILF hunter.
He's a MILF hunter. Yeah, good for him. Yeah.
Hey, go after it, bro. Like you was at BYU, you couldn't do anything. Now you just spreading your feet all over the place.
And he had a dime. His girl was a dime, and he's still MILF hunting. So good for him, man. Yeah.
Look, if he could be Joe Namath, we'll take it. Great guarantee.
Zach Wilson ain't that guy. You're not that guy.
Hopefully, man. I mean, the New York quarterback scene. Daniel Jones. I think a lot of us are not. We don't think he's the guy.
No.
Hopefully, he got to have a great defense behind him, or he's probably not going to do it. And Zach Wilson.
Daniel Jones is always going to be the guy, unless he wins the Super Bowl, that was running for a touchdown and tripped and fell on his. Unless he wins a bowl,
he was looking at Pedro. At least he was running. He's the fastest white quarterback we ever had since ever. Because I don't think we had anything.
Is that a thing? Fast white quarterback?
He's pretty fast though. Yeah,
he is fast. You're right. He is.
I mean, he runs around a little bit. I mean, because he can't throw his accuracy.
I mean, all those guys. I mean, we have to understand all these professional athletes, even the offensive linemen, they're gonna cook any of us in a race. Like these are athletes.
Oh yeah, athletes.
You know what I'm saying? They're all athletes. So yeah.
But I want to kind of end it with a little bit of my criticism of LeBron James, and I'll just keep it. I'm gonna keep it short to a point where sometimes I feel that he is not educating himself on a lot of the social topics that he talks about. I think he goes on Twitter and he reads what people are saying and he's going along with that. or what some of, and I guess he hangs with mostly left-leaning people. But going back to the idea of Boston being racist, well, then Kendrick Perkins talked about those accusations. He said he played in Boston, never seen that. He said racism is everywhere. And then he asked LeBron, I was like, well, LeBron, and I didn't even know this. He's a part or owner. He has some owner shares in the Red Sox. If you think that Boston fans are racist, how are you investing in the Boston? And those Boston Red Sox fans are crazy. And I'm not saying they're racist, but like they're super aggressive with their love of the game. Why would you invest? Now, do you just not care? I don't think so. I think LeBron's about his money. You know, like he puts a lot of the social stuff, and I feel like in the general mind he cares. But when Daryl Morey said something about free Hong Kong, and LeBron would realize he was effing up his money, it was like he was mad because you effing up. China pays NBA a lot of money. Yeah. So it's a little bit of like, if you want to be a professional, you want to go the Michael Jordan route where you're not political, you do your thing.
Republicans buy sneakers too. That's what Michael Jordan said. Yeah.
And then at the same time, you want to speak on matters that I don't think he's very educated in. I see the tweets when like that tweet that he wrote, I don't think he wrote it.
The tweet that you showed about the Griner? You don't think he wrote that?
No.
Based on other tweets you've seen that you thought he did?
Yeah. The grammar. Punctuation. When he's typing his message, it's totally different than the way he wrote there. Now he probably had the feelings in there, like he probably said, "Can you construct this for me?" And the guy, he high school graduate, and also just again, I'm not saying he's a stupid person. I just think he's not educated enough. Sometimes when he talks outside of sports or outside basketball, I don't listen to him talk about business. Clearly, he's a billionaire, so he kind of has some idea what the hell he's doing in that front. But when he talks about some social issues, he gets a little emotional. So like, yeah, Boston fans are racist as fuck. Really? Or they just, you've been spanking the Boston Celtics for years. You beat the super team. Yeah. Like you became the king basically in that game. Do you think they're probably just a little mad about that, or because you're black? Like,
yeah,
that's I feel
like that's a good point. Or you got to NBA games with the Boston, probably 17,000 fans fill that arena. So one person might say something. Does that mean all the fans are racist? Right. Like you could hear the same thing from somebody in San Francisco. Does it mean all the fans are? That it's one person. Doesn't mean. Yeah. So I see your point about it's kind of like a little emotional, and he was quick to say all the racist is that So interesting though to think that maybe he didn't write that tweet. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me ask you a follow-up. Let me ask you a follow-up question to what you just said.
Sure.
Because this was a big thing a few years ago. Do you think LeBron should shut up and dribble?
I wouldn't say that either. You say whatever you want to say, but take the slings and arrows that comes with it, right? I mean, the big reason why Boston fans, the racist narrative has started or was always around because it started with Bill Russell. Bill Russell, when he was out there scoring the black and white era, they say playing against firemen or plumbers or whatnot, but he had to deal with that, like legit. It wasn't fake, legit racism.
Yes.
That was like 60 years ago, but that's the kind of thing that kind of lingers on, and there's maybe some old feelings coming from it. But Bill Russell was very vocal about it. Jim Brown was very vocal about it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The problem is these men were college educated, knowledgeable men.
Yeah.
I would not call any of them stupid. I don't know if they would be the types to look at tweets and get emotional about it. They were men, real men. And maybe I'm just getting old and just feel like how it was back then. Like, I'm sure they had their flaws. Clearly, Jim Brown had his flaws. He had some issues. Yeah. But
they were more, I think they had a pulse. They had a better pulse and reality and were more thought provoking and forward thinking when they would get into that political conversation. Those men, those three men, yes. Okay, those four men you just mentioned Ali. LeBron's done great things for communities, but he hasn't pushed the needle and done things like those guys have. And he never will, and most won't. So it's a great point you're bringing up.
Yeah, and I'm sure LeBron would like to, but he put his 10,000 hours, his expertise in basketball. I'm not asking him to necessarily be, some kind of social scientist and understand all that, but it is hard to speak on certain things when you didn't put the time to educate yourself on it, because you are a genius basketball player. Yeah. You're doing pretty well for yourself. You're, and also you became a billionaire in 20 something years. Like what he does is phenomenal. But I feel like if he really talked, and also if he really talked to his business partners, I don't think they're as progressive as he thinks. I think they, when you go to a business, you got money, you have some conservative thoughts. I'm sure he knows them. He's been around. I'm sure he's talking to Jay-Z and everyone else. When you look at the other side of how
they're all fiscally, they're all conservative. Those all of them. I mean, come on. Yeah.
There was a question. I guess it ran up. Do you think LeBron, when LeBron retires, would he go to politics? No, not at all.
No way. No. When LeBron retires, he's going to continue his media company, and he'll, maybe, produce some movies and stuff, and continue with like podcasts in the shop, but he's not getting into politics. No way.
Yeah, is that more difficult? Yeah. A good point from Bobby. Politics is becoming more and more immature with social, 100%. And that's with senators. Yes. The way they tweet, they're tweeting like they're in high school. Trying to get the gotcha tweets, the gotcha moments, the memes. It's like, I thought and that's why going back to those other players, it was serious. It was a big deal. Jackie Robinson, that's a big deal, because Jackie Robinson went through some real racism.
No, that was real racism. He was, literally his teammates, the other coaches on the other opposing teams, like he was dealing with real stuff. LeBron's talking about maybe a little bit of beer and maybe one person saying something sideways. That's Jackie Robinson had hundreds of people at every game saying something sideways.
And Ron can point out like he has done, hey, they get him out. I'm like, all right. And hopefully that's legit and it's not overdone, and that person will get banned, or they get whatever. But it's a lot of nuance. And I think that's the beauty of this podcast that we have. We're not going to, the only thing I think it's a big red line is, Pedro don't like Drake. And that's about it. I think that's the only thing that's like straight. Other than that, we open to everything. Like I said, we both love white women. We like all the flavors. It's like Doritos. I like Cooler Ranch. I like nacho cheese, spicy nacho. We all like a little bit of everything, and put in the comments below. I saw a few talking about what the flavors they like. And put in the comments below it. We all would, like to hear it.
Flavors of women or flavors of Doritos?
Both. Whatever you want to talk, whatever your favorite. I think Cooler Ranch is the best flavor of Doritos.
I would say Cool Ranch is 1, and then the sweet spicy chilies 2.
Yeah.
And then the classic is, I guess, original is number 3.
Yeah, original. Yeah, we could be a little too cheesy, but I guess we talk about it as women as well. All right, I think now we're just rambling. We gotta figure out what we're gonna talk about for next week.
Kevin Samuel, man. Let's go.
Oh,
let's
yeah.
Go.
All right,
what do you think? What do you think? Let's ask the chat. So we got Bobby and Jeff. You guys have been fantastic in the chat. Sorry, we're not as I'm gonna try to get better, because Hannibal does a great job of leading these conversations. I'm gonna try to get in with you guys a little more, because you guys have great conversations among yourselves. But then maybe we missed some questions. But shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys for being here. We've been an hour and almost hour and 9 minutes. You guys are fantastic. We love doing these lives because the energy is fantastic. We know it seems like a lot of you guys like it. But so Kevin Samuel, some of you guys might know who he is. If you don't, do a quick Google search. You won't be disappointed. This is a man that has said some controversial things. He was very pro-man and a high-value man, and what women should be doing to get a high-value man. That was his thing. He passed away a couple months ago from a heart attack, I believe. Right, Hannibal?
Yeah, actually, they had the cause is hypertension.
Hypertension.
Oh, yeah. So he had some health issues. I knew every time he was on live, he was drinking a lot of Red Bulls.
A lot of Red Bull. So we want to, with this podcast, where we've talked to hip hop. Obviously, we talk basketball, sports. We talk some sports into political things and share opinions and thoughts, and we want to hear from y'all. But we also like to talk about relationships. Hannibal's a married man, and I was married. Now I have a girlfriend. We live together. So we're both men that are taken. We're in relationships, right? But you know, we both want to also talk about maybe relational things, how men and women view things. And Kevin Samuel has some hot takes. So we thought about kind of doing a live or doing a podcast talking about some of his ideals. Did he help the Black community? Did he hurt the Black community? Did he do great for women? Did he not? There's a lot to kind of digest there. So,
yeah. And I think if you're cool with it, I think we should go live again. I think
I'm good with that.
Comments. Yeah. Kevin Samuels is he was a huge YouTuber. His content is still being watched to this minute, probably.
Oh yeah.
And I think we could talk about it. And again, I do have that one theory of why I think men and women are not getting along with each other. I'm gonna still talk about that. So I'm gonna start with that, and we're gonna kind of talk with Kevin Samuels. We can go in the chat, throw in their comments on, do you think that it was a little bit too anti-women? Did it get to a point where too many people just don't like women?
Yeah.
Women. Does that help relationships? But we're going to go through all of that. And we're going to end this with one comment by one of my favorite people to see in the chat, Pull My Gig. He just wanted to put this comment out there. And good for you, Pull My Gig.
Why do I like him even more now? Is that stupid to say? I just like him even more. I don't know why I say that, but I do.
Awesome. And thank you, CC. Please talk about relationships. It's important to get respectable men. Yes, I appreciate that you think it's respectable male views. We're talking about not
us two knuckleheads. Yeah, I don't know. I Hannibal, I think it's great, man. We'll do that next week. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, and let's go live, man. Let's do it.
Awesome. But on that note, guys, have a fantastic night. We'll see you guys next week, Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Have a good night, guys.
See you.